Hello, welcome back to the Temple of the Holy Beard. I'm Pastor Dave. Thanks for tuning in. Um, Purpose of this video is just to discuss a little bit of current events, what's going on. I'm not going to get too particular with any particular events, but in previous videos I've gotten a little bit doom and gloom, focusing on the bad and telling you to prepare for the bad. Do it. Absolutely. Absolutely. I still, I can feel it, strongly believe that things are going to get a lot worse before they get better. Um, we've got a lot going on in the world right now, and anything that you hear happening in any country in the world is pretty much interchangeable with every other country. Times are tough, food shortages, there's droughts all over the place, and where there's not a drought, there's flooding. So it's some tough times we're going into right now, and anything that you can do to help prepare yourself for it, all the better. Um, but that's not what this video is focused on. More so, I want to focus on the positive notes. And what I've been seeing happening, and it really happened since coming into COVID. In the beginning of COVID lockdowns and the food shortages that everybody saw, the concerns for livelihood. Lots of people lost their job. A lot of people didn't lose their job, but they were forced to work from home, which was stressful enough. You're being sent home, and maybe you're being given busy work because you can't really do your job at home. That's scary because that can feel as though they're just buying time. Plus is you're getting a paycheck now, but you don't know how long it's going to last. For a lot of people, you're already gone back to your main work location. Some companies have actually shifted, and you're working from home permanently. Whatever your situation is, I hope the best. If you did lose your job, I hope you've put in the effort to find another one by now. There's the unemployment rates are going down a little bit, but they're not quite to pre-COVID numbers. But what I want to focus on in this video is more so the negativity that's going on and the weirdness that's going on in this country and others. And one story I want to share with you is that there's New Orleans, Louisiana, United States. There was an issue recently. A young person, 14-year-old male, didn't release the name, got into a life of crime and ended up in the carjacking business. We don't know a whole lot about this person, and of course we don't know what he was doing that he didn't get caught at. But one night he carjacked this young lady and put a gun in her face, screaming at her, cussing at her. Of course, she was afraid for her life, afraid this kid's going to kill her, and forced her to give up everything she had, her keys, her wallet, and he took her car, drove off, stole her car. Within the next 2 days, I believe it was, he stole 4 more cars. So this young person was positively identified in carjacking 5 people in 2 days. Positively identified. Now, got arrested, went to court. Now, when he went to court, the mayor of Louisiana showed up in court. You'd think that would be a good thing. But instead of showing up in court and supporting the victims and showing that we need to crack down on crime, she showed up in court to show support for the carjacker, for the 14-year-old boy. She was looking for sympathy for this kid because he was a young kid and he was a troubled youth, and he was in the troubled youth program, and they were trying to get him help. And don't know if that influenced the judge or not, but the outcome of this case, 5 carjackings at gunpoint in 2 days, was 2 years of probation. I think it was monitored probation, and I believe it was time served. But basically, whatever the exact was, it was definitely 2 years of probation. So this 14-year-old kid used a gun, which the gun that they found him with ended up being a toy gun. It was a fake gun. It wasn't a real gun, but that doesn't matter. When you're the one with a gun in your face, it's real enough. And if this kid is holding anything and threatening as though it's a deadly weapon, it needs to be considered a deadly weapon. But in this case, 14-year-old carjacked 5 people that we know of in 2 days, and he got let off with probation. That's ridiculous. And the fact that the mayor was there showing support for this, frequent criminal. Now, we'll add that he had a prior criminal record long before this happened. He is well known to the police. This is not his first offense, by far. And so, yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. Let me know in the comments what you think of that. However, crime in the New Orleans area has been skyrocketing. Enough so that good people are moving out of the city. They're moving out of the area, and they're getting new jobs, and they're setting up a new life somewhere else because the crime is so bad in that area. So, in that case, typically a mayor and the law enforcement would take that seriously. If the good people do not feel safe in that town, they're failing their job. They are failing their job. I'll cut them credit because they caught this one, and I'm sure they've caught others. But if the judge is just going to let them off with probation, then there's no fear. There's no concern. That kid's going to get right back out and do the same thing. In fact, he's probably going to keep doing it while he's on probation. Because, hey, if he doesn't get caught, nobody knows it happened, right? Well, in the case of New Orleans, or Nolans, if you will, the good people of the city started a protest the day after this court case. And they started what's it called? Getting signatures to protest a re-election. Basically, they're fed up. And I think that the mayor showing up to support the criminal was the final straw. They had enough, and they want to get that mayor out of there. They want to do a new election. First thing they're going to have to do is vote. I'm not so familiar with the entire process, so correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments. But I believe they have to do a vote, or at least get a certain number of signatures to show that they want to have her have another election. And then in the new election, someone else will run against her, assuming somebody else wants the job. And she could potentially get reelected. They could also do a vote, and she doesn't get pushed out. Same thing happened in the state of California not too long ago with the governor, where citizens of California were fed up with the stuff that he's doing. Gavin Newsom is his name. Yep, Gavin Newsom. And long list. I could be here for a while talking about things that guy's doing. And so they got enough people to sign to do a re-election for him, and it looked great. It looked like they were going to have another re-election. It looked like he was not going to get re-elected. However, hardly anybody showed up to the polls. People didn't go and vote. They had more people sign the petition, I believe, at least, percentage-wise, than what actually showed up to vote. So, your votes matter. And on that note, in the United States, we're coming up on the midterm elections here soon. A lot of areas have already done their, I forget what it's called, the pre-election, where you're narrowing down the field of candidates to represent your party. And then in November, we're going to do vote for the midterm elections. And in that case, it's going to be senators, congressmen, governors, and whatnot. It might vary by area. School board members, stuff like that is going to be on that election. And if you think about think about what's going to be included on that election, and think about how you feel about the people that are in those positions right now. Think about how things are going. Watch the news, not just necessarily what you see. If you live in an area where it's not directly impacting you, you may not notice it. A lot of people look around and they say, well, my daily life is okay, so that person must be doing a good job. And then they vote for that person again. Well, zoom out a little bit. Look at the area that that person represents, not just your daily routine, but what else? If you live in a certain type of community, whether it's a rural community, or a city, or whatever type of community that you have, make sure that your elected officials are properly representing the lifestyle that you and your fellow community members live. So if you have an elected official who is making decisions which are counter to the lifestyle that you want to live, that's probably not the person you should vote for. And once they're in there, it's 10 times more difficult to get them out and trade them out for someone else. It's not impossible. And one of the positive notes I wanted to say in this video is it is happening. People are standing up. In San Francisco recently, there was a lot of problems. Crime is out of control. Drug use is out of control. Homelessness is out of control. And the district attorney is encouraging just letting them walk. They've got violent criminals, murderers in some cases, that are just being let off with a minor plea deal. And it's just encouraging what's happening there that the good citizens don't like. And so they were successful in having a re-election, and they haven't voted for the new district attorney yet, to my knowledge, but they were at least able to vote to have him removed. And so he's no longer in that position. And then they have an active district attorney that's in there right now, and she is adamant about cleaning things up. Now, there's a lot to clean up. It's not just as easy as, making little changes. There's, a lot of work to do, but she's making some good strides, and it's going to take years. It's going to take a lot of years. The sad part is that you can destroy a community in a very short period of time, but it takes 10 times longer to improve a community. And unfortunately, that's the kind of stuff that I'm seeing going on in the world right now, in all communities right now. So, don't be afraid to speak up, if you see something that's not right. When the elections come around, don't just check a box. Don't just vote for the person that has your party's initial next to the name. Put some thought into it. Put some research into it. Look to see, what has that person done for me lately. If you have a senator, a congressman, or an elected official that has been in that position for forever, basically, don't just look at what they did in the past. Okay, this person did some great things 20 years ago. They've been doing that job for 40 years. And the last great thing you can think of was 20 years ago. Do you think that they're doing a good job now? Look at each person individually. Before you check that box, think it through, evaluate the way they've been working, and decide of whether you want your community ran that way. I'm going to have more videos on that coming up as we get closer to the midterms, and I'm sure I'll have more before we get into the following elections. But one of my pet peeves is people who just blindly vote for their party. If we want to get out of this party system, we need to look at individual candidates. There's actually a lot of parties out there, and we have elected officials across the board for different parties. It's not just a two-party system like some people will have you believe. You can vote for anybody you want to vote for. However, in some cases, you do need to weigh. You should look at each of the candidates that are on the ballot, not just don't just look at it of which one do I think is the best, but look at the other candidates as well, because I hate to say this and it drives me nuts, but sometimes you need to make a choice, not so much of who is the best candidate, but also who is the worst candidate. And if the worst candidate has a really good chance of winning, you might want to consider choosing the person who has the best chance of beating them. So it might be a lesser of the evils type of scenario. And I really hate to say that. And I really would like to see society get to the point where we can just vote for the best candidate, period. The best candidate. But sometimes we need to pool our efforts to vote for the person who is most likely to beat the worst candidate. And, especially in the case where this snowball is growing. And it's been growing a lot for the last few years. It started off slow. It started off just hitting certain areas and kind of petering around. And it's been picking up some yellow snow and some brown snow along the way. And it's looking pretty colorful right now, and it's getting pretty big, and it's hitting a lot of areas. So we all need to look at our areas wherever you live, make the best choices, do the right thing, stand up, support the people who need support, support each other, support your community. If you can, whenever you get the opportunity, share this information with others who might need it. I feel like a lot of people are, just have their head in the sand. They were told a piece of advice that may have been good years ago that may not apply anymore. And they're just sticking with that piece of advice. A lot of people are brainwashed to be cliquey, of this is my group, these are the people that I support, and that's what I'm going to do. That may not be the best choice. Think. If you're not going to put thought into it, if you're not going to put the effort into it, just stay out of the way. But what we need is more people to wake up and do the right thing, like those good citizens in San Francisco did, like those good citizens in New Orleans are doing. If you're not happy with the way things are going, stand up, use your voice, do the right thing. Of course, doing the right thing is also non-violent, although sometimes a little bit of pressure is needed, but I should edit that out. But, stand up for the people who need support. You might need to speak up and get between that person and the bully. Push the bully back, put a little bit of pressure on them to take a step back. And that's not the way we do things. That's not the way you treat people. That's not the way we want our community ran. Come together. If you hear somebody threatening violence against somebody or something along those lines, whether it's a coworker or a neighbor or a friend, don't be afraid to help that person out. Like I said, a lot of people are waking up. A lot of people are finally starting to take their head out of the sand. They're seeing this stuff. And we just need to get more people out of the matrix. We need to get them thinking. We need to get them zooming out and seeing what's going on outside of their little bubble. Think it through. Stand up for the little guy. And if you're not going to make intelligent decisions, then things are just going to keep spiraling down. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've picked something up from it. If you have any comments, anything you want to share, anything that you want to add, please add it to the comments section below. Feel free to share this video with your groups, with your friends, and any followers that you have. I think a lot of people could benefit from having discussions like this, and we need to need to get the word out. So again, if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for future videos. If you have a suggestion for a video, let me know in the comments section. And if you've enjoyed this video, hit that like button and show your support. Again, I'm Pastor Dave from the Temple of the Holy Beard. Thanks for watching.